Remember words by reading essays. Rising from the cusp.
Good morning, everyone. In this lesson, we are going to study the essay Rising from the Cusp. First, I'd like you to listen to the whole passage carefully from beginning to end. Don't worry about every detail yet. Just try to grasp the overall storyline and the general tone of the text.
Alex recently joined a startup company that was on the cusp of bankruptcy. Every employee felt rattled and anxious. Alex knew his experience was limited, and his oral English was a bit duff, but he still tried to participate actively in projects to prove himself. However, some colleagues seemed overly friendly, which made him suspect they had ulterior motives. He remained cautious, knowing that success would not be because of surface-level efforts alone. One day, the company organized a presentation, but Alex was lukewarm about the whole plan, completing it mechanically. His supervisor, though erudite, often led the team into inefficiency and disorder. During a meeting, Alex suggested the company set aside part of the budget to improve employee welfare. Yet, he discovered that some of the funds were earmarked for executives' private projects. This upset him, but he learned to control his temper instead of going ballistic, like some colleagues. The shipping project's progress was choppy, and Alex felt nervous and skittish. But he maintained his professionalism. Gradually, his efforts and ideas struck a chord with the boss, and some clients were wowed by his presentations. Even though some proposals eventually misfired or proved unviable, Alex kept working to replenish resources. His performance was not inferior to that of the senior staff, even though he was not much more than the team average for now. In the end, Alex learned to ditch superficial suggestions and focus on practical plans. Even if some investments or efforts were not without loss, he believed that with steady work, he would eventually succeed.
Now, we will listen to the passage a second time. This time, please follow the text closely. As we listen, I will pause to explain the key vocabulary and important phrases used in the article. Pay special attention to how these words and expressions function in context and how they contribute to the development of the story.
Alex recently joined a startup company that was on the cusp of bankruptcy.
The phrase "on the cusp of" means being at the point just before something happens. In the text, the company was on the cusp of bankruptcy, which means it was very close to going bankrupt, almost at that critical turning point.
Does it always mean something bad is about to happen?
Not necessarily. It can describe both positive and negative situations, like being on the cusp of success or on the cusp of failure.
So is it similar to about to?
Yes, but it often emphasizes being right at the edge of a major change.
Every employee felt rattled and anxious. Alex knew his experience was limited, and his oral English was a bit duff.
In the passage, duff means not very good or slightly poor in quality. When Alex says his oral English was a bit duff, he means it wasn't strong or fluent enough, but not completely terrible either. It's an informal British expression.
Is duff a very negative word?
It can be negative, but it's usually mild and informal, suggesting something is below standard rather than a total failure.
Can we use it for things? Too.
Yes. You can say a plan, excuse, or product is duff if it doesn't work well.
But he still tried to participate actively in projects to prove himself. However, some colleagues seemed overly friendly, which made him suspect they had ulterior motives.
The phrase ulterior motives refers to hidden reasons for doing something, especially when those reasons are not honest or openly stated. In the text, Alex suspects his colleagues are overly friendly because they may have secret intentions behind their behavior.
Does it always mean something bad?
Usually, yes. It often suggests selfish or dishonest purposes.
So it's different from just having a reason.
Exactly. An ulterior motive is a concealed reason, not the obvious one you show to others.
He remained cautious, knowing that success would not because of surface level efforts alone.
In the passage, the phrase not because is used to correct a possible misunderstanding. It introduces the real reason by rejecting a false one. For example, success would not come because of surface level efforts alone, meaning that shallow actions are not the true cause of success.
Is it mainly used for contrast?
Yes, it helps contrast a wrong assumption with the actual reason.
Do we usually use it in longer sentences?
Often, yes. It works best when you clearly explain what the real cause is after denying the incorrect one.
One day, the company organized a presentation, but Alex was lukewarm about the whole plan, completing it mechanically.
The phrase was lukewarm about means showing little enthusiasm or only mild interest in something. In the text, Alex was lukewarm about the presentation plan, which means he didn't feel excited or strongly supportive. He just completed it without much passion.
Is it the same as disliking something?
Not exactly. It's weaker than dislike. It suggests indifference rather than strong negative feelings.
Can we use it for opinions?
Yes. You can be lukewarm about an idea, a proposal, or even a movie if you feel only mildly interested.
His supervisor, though erudite, often led the team into inefficiency and disorder.
The word erudite describes someone who is very knowledgeable and well-educated. In the passage, Alex's supervisor is described as erudite, meaning he has deep academic knowledge and learning, even though his management skills may not be very effective.
Is erudite always a compliment?
Generally, yes. It praises someone's wide and profound knowledge.
Can we use it for books or speeches?
Yes. An erudite book or lecture is one that shows great scholarship and intellectual depth.
During a meeting, Alex suggested the company set aside part of the budget to improve employee welfare.
The phrase set aside means to reserve something for a specific purpose or to keep it for later use. In the text, Alex suggests the company set aside part of the budget, which means saving or allocating money specifically for employee welfare.
Does it only refer to money?
Not at all. You can set aside time, space, or even personal feelings.
Can it mean ignoring something?
Yes. In some contexts, it can mean to temporarily ignore or put away an issue. But here it clearly means to reserve funds.
Yet, he discovered that some of the funds were earmarked for executives' private projects.
The phrase earmarked for means officially designated or reserved for a particular purpose. In the passage, some funds were earmarked for executives' private projects, which means the money had already been assigned specifically for that use.
Is it similar to set aside?
Yes. But earmarked often sounds more formal and implies an official decision.
Can it be used outside financial contexts?
It's most common with money or resources, but it can also describe plans or roles assigned to someone.
This upset him, but he learned to control his temper instead of going ballistic, like some colleagues.
In this context, go ballistic means to become extremely angry and lose control of your emotions. When the text says some colleagues went ballistic, it suggests they reacted explosively instead of staying calm.
Does ballistic always relate to anger?
In everyday English, yes. It's commonly used to describe a sudden outburst of anger.
Is it formal?
No. It's informal and conversational, often used in spoken English.
The shipping project's progress was choppy.
The word choppy describes something that is uneven, irregular, or not smooth. In the text, the shipping project's progress was choppy, meaning the work did not move forward steadily. Instead, it had interruptions and ups and downs.
Is choppy only used for projects?
No. It can also describe water with small rough waves or even broken, disconnected speech.
So it suggests instability.
Exactly. It implies a lack of smooth continuity.
And Alex felt nervous and skittish.
The word skittish describes someone who is nervous, easily frightened, or overly sensitive to sudden changes. In the passage, Alex felt skittish, meaning he was uneasy and tense because of the unstable situation at work.
Is it usually used for people?
It's often used for animals like horses, but it can also describe people who seem jumpy or anxious.
Is it the same as shy?
Not exactly. Skittish emphasizes nervousness and quick reactions rather than quietness.
But he maintained his professionalism. Gradually, his efforts and ideas struck a chord with the boss, and some clients were wowed by his presentations.
The phrase struck a chord with means to strongly connect with someone's feelings or thoughts. In the passage, Alex's ideas struck a chord with the boss, meaning they resonated emotionally or intellectually and gained approval.
Is it related to music?
Yes. It comes from music. When you strike a chord, it produces a sound. Metaphorically, it means creating an emotional response.
Can it be positive or negative?
It's usually positive, suggesting agreement or shared understanding.
Even though some proposals eventually misfired or proved unviable.
In the passage, misfired means something failed to work as planned or produced the wrong result. Unviable means not practical or not capable of succeeding in the long term. So when proposals misfired or proved unviable, they either went wrong or simply could not realistically succeed.
Is misfired only used for machines?
Originally, yes. But now it's often used metaphorically for plans or actions that fail.
And unviable means impossible.
Not impossible, but highly unlikely to succeed or survive.
Alex kept working to replenish resources.
The word replenish means to fill something up again after it has been used or reduced. In the passage, Alex worked to replenish resources, meaning he tried to restore or replace what the company had lost.
Is it only used for physical things?
Mostly for supplies, energy, or money, but it can also be used metaphorically, like replenishing confidence.
Is it similar to replace?
It's close, but replenish emphasizes restoring something to its original level.
His performance was not inferior to that of the senior staff.
The phrase not inferior to means not worse than, or at least as good as something else. In the passage, Alex's performance was not inferior to that of the senior staff. which means his work was equal to theirs in quality.
Is it a formal expression?
Yes. It sounds more formal than simply saying as good as.
Does it mean better?
Not necessarily. It only states that it is not worse. It may be equal. Or possibly even better. Depending on context.
Even though he was not much more than the team average for now.
The phrase not much more than means only slightly above a certain level. Almost the same as something else. In the passage, Alex was not much more than the team average, meaning his performance was only a little better than most of his colleagues.
Is it a negative expression?
Not necessarily negative, but it can suggest modesty or that the difference isn't significant.
Can we use it for numbers too?
Yes. You can use it to describe quantities, ages, or amounts that are just slightly higher than a reference point.
In the end, Alex learned to ditch superficial suggestions and focus on practical plans.
The word ditch means to get rid of something or abandon it completely. In the passage, Alex learned to ditch superficial suggestions, which means he decided to stop using shallow or impractical ideas.
Is ditch formal?
No. It's informal. In formal writing, we might say abandon or discard.
Can it be used for people?
Yes. But it sounds quite casual and sometimes rude. Like ditching a friend or skipping a class.
Even if some investments or efforts were not without loss.
The phrase not without means that something happens. But it involves a certain difficulty, cost, or consequence. In the passage, investments were not without loss, which means there were losses involved, even though there might have been progress.
So, does it actually mean there is loss?
Yes. It implies the presence of something, often something negative.
Is it a formal structure?
Yes. It's more formal and often used in written English to sound precise and balanced.
He believed that with steady work, he would eventually succeed.
All right. Let's listen to the entire passage once again. Try to connect the meanings of the vocabulary and phrases we have discussed with the overall message of the essay. Notice how your understanding becomes clearer and more complete.
Alex recently joined a startup company that was on the cusp of bankruptcy. Every employee felt rattled and anxious. Alex knew his experience was limited, and his oral English was a bit duff, but he still tried to participate actively in projects to prove himself. However, some colleagues seemed overly friendly, which made him suspect they had ulterior motives. He remained cautious, knowing that success would not be because of surface-level efforts alone. One day, the company organized a presentation, but Alex was lukewarm about the whole plan, completing it mechanically. His supervisor, though erudite, often led the team into inefficiency and disorder. During a meeting, Alex suggested the company set aside part of the budget to improve employee welfare. Yet, he discovered that some of the funds were earmarked for executives' private projects. This upset him, but he learned to control his temper instead of going ballistic, like some colleagues. The shipping project's progress was choppy, and Alex felt nervous and skittish. But he maintained his professionalism. Gradually, his efforts and ideas struck a chord with the boss, and some clients were wowed by his presentations. Even though some proposals eventually misfired or proved unviable, Alex kept working to replenish resources. His performance was not inferior to that of the senior staff, even though he was not much more than the team average for now. In the end, Alex learned to ditch superficial suggestions and focus on practical plans. Even if some investments or efforts were not without loss, he believed that with steady work, he would eventually succeed.
That brings us to the end of today's lesson. Thank you for your attention and active participation. I hope this study of the text has helped deepen your understanding of both the language and the theme. See you next class.